There are moments in life that seem random, coincidental, even insignificant. But when one looks from the depth of the soul, one discovers that nothing is by chance. Everything is symbol. Everything is mirror. Everything is connected to an invisible order that cannot be seen with the eyes, but that is felt in the center of the chest. And one of those sacred moments is the birth of a child, not only for what it means to the mother and father, but because the instant in which a soul decides to incarnate contains millennia of wisdom. And what many ignore is that the month in which a child is born holds a key about the karma that this soul brings with it, a karma that is not punishment, but purpose. It is not debt, but direction. From my work in depth psychology, I understood that the human being is not born empty. He is born charged with symbols, archetypes, inherited energies, and patterns that come from far away. He is born into an invisible field woven by generations, a field that welcomes him, but also pushes him to evolve. And in that field, the moment of birth is not an accident, it is a sign, a precise coordinate where the soul meets destiny. Why was your child born exactly in that month? Why not before? Why not after? Why that cycle of the year, with that specific energy, with that astrological sky, with that emotional context in your life? The answer is not rational, it is symbolic, and the symbol, as I taught throughout all my work, is the language of the soul. Your child's soul chose that moment because that instant contained the exact code it needed to awaken what it came to heal, to liberate, and to transform. Perhaps they were born in a month of storms, or in a month of harvest. Perhaps in the middle of winter, or under a scorching sun. Each month has a vibration, a story, a collective memory, a pattern that repeats throughout time. And your child came to walk upon that pattern, to rewrite it, to free it, to remember something that you, their ancestors and their lineage have forgotten. Many mothers ask themselves why their children are the way they are, why one is silent and the other impulsive, why one seems to carry the weight of the world and the other only wants to fly. And I tell them, do not look for the answer only in genetics or in upbringing. Look in the soul, in the sacred instant of birth. Because there, in that first breath, everything was already said. The body was new, but the soul was ancient, and it arrived with a map under its arm. An invisible map, made of memories, of past experiences, of unresolved bonds, of unfulfilled promises, and of undeveloped potential. That map is what we call karma, and no, it is not a curse. It is an opportunity. Your child did not come to pay for anything. They came to understand, to integrate, to remember what their soul already knows. And you, as mother, are the first guide on that journey. You are the first mirror, the first voice, the first boundary, the first love, and through you, he or she begins to decode the message of their own birth. Imagine for a moment that each month of the year is an archetype. January is the beginning, the impulse, the force to break with the old. February is the mystery, the duality, the emotional test. March is the seed that awakens. April is the fire that claims its place. May is the sweetness that holds wounds. June is the mirror of bonds. July is the root that trembles. August is the pride that becomes voice. September is the mind that seeks order. October is the heart that seeks justice. November is the death that asks for transformation. December is the memory that closes in order to begin again. In what month was your child born? What hidden message did they bring in their skin? What part of your story resonated when you held them in your arms for the first time? Do not underestimate those answers, because there begins the dance of the soul. Your child did not come to please you, nor to fulfill your dreams, nor to fill your voids. They came to confront you with your shadow, to show you, with their way of being, everything you didn't want to see in yourself. They came to awaken you, and when you understand this, you no longer educate from fear. Educating becomes an art of accompanying the awakening of another being. You no longer want your child to be like you. You want them to find themselves, and for that, you need to read their karma, not from superficial astrology, but from deep intuition, from loving observation, from absolute respect for their soul. Perhaps your child was born in a month when you suffered a loss, and without realizing it, you project your wound onto them. Perhaps they were born in the month when you were born, and that awakens an unconscious comparison. Perhaps they were born in the same month as a grandfather who was not understood, and that pattern returns through them. All this is not coincidence. It is synchronicity. As I wrote, synchronicity is the way in which the universe speaks through symbols, and your child is one of those sacred symbols. If you can look at your child and ask yourself not only what they need, but what they came to teach you, then something begins to transform in your bond. You no longer see them only as a child, you see them as a soul on a mission. A soul that chose your womb because you had something essential for their path. And even if you sometimes doubt, even if you feel you don't know how to help them, your conscious presence alone is already medicine. Because the karma your child brings does not belong only to them. It is part of a wider fabric. And you, by accompanying them, are also healing yours. Perhaps your child came to teach you to let go of control, to let go of perfectionism, to let go of the need to be strong all the time. Perhaps they came to show you that you can fail and still be worthy of love. Perhaps they came to break the story of silence, of obedience, of sacrifice that ran through the veins of the women in your family. Perhaps their way of being is a direct response to the question you never dared to ask. And that is why, when your child acts incomprehensibly, do not ask only what is wrong with them. Ask yourself what they are reflecting to you. What part of you is uncomfortable? What part of you wants to correct them? What part of you wants them to be quiet, to calm down, to be like the others? Because there is the clue. Karma is not always expressed with suffering. Sometimes it manifests as rebellion, as creativity, as intensity, as an energy that cannot be fit into what is established. And if you manage to see that not as a problem, but as a sign, you become an ally of their soul, not their jailer. The children born today do not come with the same wounds as us, but they do inherit our memories, and if we do not make them conscious, they will live them as their own. This is what, in psychology, we call transgenerational transmission. And in the language of the soul, it is the repetition of unresolved karma, not to punish us, but to give us another chance. That is why, if you are reading this, and your child is still small, sit for a moment in silence. Observe them, listen to their gestures, their way of playing, their way of saying no, and ask yourself, with honesty, what energy did they bring to the world? What part of my story are they repeating or challenging? What do they want to transform through their existence? And if your child is already an adult, it is never too late to look at them with new eyes, to ask for forgiveness, to release, to let go of expectations and give them the blessing of being who they came to be. No child is by chance. Each one is an echo of the soul, a living lesson, a possibility of evolution. And you, as a mother, were chosen not for being perfect, but for being exact. Exact in your virtues and in your limits. Exact in your history and in your silences. Exact in what you gave and in what you could not give. Because all of that, absolutely all of it, was part of the path your child needed to walk. Do not be afraid of karma. It is not a sentence. It is a compass. And if you learn to read it, you will discover that each challenge with your child is a call to awaken. Each conflict is an opportunity to heal. And each hug, a bridge toward something greater than you and them. Something that comes from afar and that will continue after you both. Your child did not only bring life, they brought memory, they brought symbol, they brought opportunity. And you, by recognizing that, become not only a mother, but a guardian of a legacy, a witness of a transformation, an alchemist of the family soul. And if you ever doubt, remember this: the soul never makes mistakes when choosing its path. And you, with everything you are and everything you are not, were the only one capable of holding the karma your child came to transcend.